Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 72 for Sunday, the 13th of March, 2022. In this week's show, we'll be discussing all the highlights from the latest PlayStation State of Play, our Game of the Year and the LILIES getting a limited physical release, and Nintendo opening a Super Nintendo World theme park in Hollywood.
Shut up! Big Wig's on the radio! Shut up! It's Gaming Podcast Audio!
As always, I'm joined by Swinny.
Why, hello there.
And if you want to check us out, go on bigwigpod.com or go to our description to see all the links, all the lonks, all the links. Hype man, you are the hype man. What are we hyping up this week?
I'm hyping the fact that we're not doing Chrono Trigger again this week. It's not really hype, it's like anti-hype.
Anti-hype. Yeah, I know. I think you've got to check what the word hype means.
Well, it's more like, okay, well, that's what's coming up like in the future, because it's not this week. Because unfortunately, as people watching on YouTube can see, and the fact that you didn't introduce him, that Mike is not here this week.
Mike's not here. He's house hunting. He's house hunting at 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time.
So we have chosen to not do our Game of Some Other feature on Chrono Trigger because we want him to be involved if possible. So we're going to push till next week, and if he's not here next week, then we'll probably just bloody do it anyway.
I think, because the other thing is, I was trying to give him a bit of an out. I thought he was sort of like maybe 30, 40% the way through the game, and I'm like, I'll be the good guy here. I'll go, we'll just review it, and, you can throw your comments in next week. But he's actually 80% through the game, so
You're very trusting of his statement.
Shit, that's true, actually. We should actually ask where he's up to in the game.
Also, because of the way that Chrono Trigger is structured, it's very difficult to know how far you are through the game unless you've played it before.
Yeah, I think it's impossible, because there's no percentage meter or anything, unless you check how long to beat. Like, you don't want any spoilers, but you go, okay, it's about 30-hour game.
So Mike's probably like, I've unlocked all like the time things on this bar. That means I must be like 80% of the way through the game.
I didn't think about that. I should have actually asked him, because you can end without spoiling it, but there's a bit like Nier Automata. There's ways to end the game early, and I guess you could argue. You go, well, I've ended the game. It's done. I've rolled the credits.
You could.
Yeah. And what else are we hyping?
We're hyping the fact that I'll be reviewing Elix 2 next week. Nice. So I'll mention a little bit in a moment. That's what I've been playing this week mainly. So, but I'm not going to go too in depth because I'd like to review the whole thing, and I should have completed it by next episode.
Very good. I think you'll get like a bit of traction on that one because, given that you've had Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring has just sucked up all the YouTube oxygen. There are people out there who are like, Elix 2. I saw a review on it, actually. I watched a bit of it. I feel like there's not that much activity in that space, so I wouldn't be surprised if people gravitate towards it. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
there's some big people in that, I guess, that corner of the internet, the RPG, European RPG corner of the internet, like Click4 Gaming, that have been covering it a lot. And they're the people that are obviously way more knowledgeable than I am. But they're also people that all got review codes well before the game even came out. Yeah. And because they cancelled the physical release of the game in Australia, I had to literally wait for the digital game to actually release on the store. Couldn't play it early at all. And
you could play it a little bit earlier because that's midnight, like our time, right? So versus going into the store.
I could have cracked a few hours. All I know is that it I kept checking. I'm like, please, just hope I can launch the game now. It's like, no, you gotta wait.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
on release day?
Well, it's. I mean, it was the thing is, I think it went live like 2 a.m. It's like I'm not gonna start playing it at 2 a.m. or something. Okay. So
normally it's midnight here for PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah.
So,
but even then, it's like starting an open world RPG at midnight is not the kind of thing that I'm probably going to be doing on a work day. So.
It was Elden Ring, 100%. I would have I got the physical version, and we had that whole ordeal because I ordered it on Amazon. We didn't talk about this. I ordered it on Amazon, And then I emailed them. I'm like, what's going on? Like, am I get it on the day? They go, oh, we're figuring it out. And then like it came on Sunday. So I just had stuff that I went to EB Games and bought it on the Friday. So I had 2 copies for a while. I returned the other one. So
Well, that was like the Metroid Dread situation
Yeah.
for me because we were in lockdown when that happened. So I didn't actually have the option to really just go to a shop and buy it as easily as I could via getting it online. So, but a couple of other things. So I just wanted to call out. It's not wrestling. Sorry, it's not gaming related. It's wrestling related.
Oh, you're going off script here. Wow, this is going.
Hey, it's in the run sheet. It's literally in the script.
I'm not a wrestling fan.
It is literally in the script.
But weirdly enough, I've been watching a lot of wrestling YouTube clips, which you would be happy about. But yeah, what is this?
So Big E, so one of the most popular wrestlers,
Never heard of him.
champion recently.
Or her.
Oh, he was recently the world champion and everything,
Sure.
and he broke his neck on Thursday SmackDown.
Oh,
so,
dude.
yeah,
Holy
so
shit,
it
dude.
absolutely sucks. But the thing is, like, he's such a good guy that he actually put out like a social media clip, like a couple hours later, telling everyone that like he's okay and he can move his fingers and everything, but obviously he's broken his neck and everything. So just call out that and he's one of the most well liked people in the industry as a person, not character. It's just an awesome person. It's such a shame for it to happen leading into WrestleMania season, where I don't know if it was the case, but he may have even had like a big match against Goldberg.
Oh, wow.
Which he's like his idol. So it's man, it sucks. But
like I know it sounds like a dumb question, but I didn't realize that you can break your spine or your back or things like that and actually then still be able to walk. Like I just thought it was like game over if that ever happened. So is his prognosis that he's going to be quadriplegic or they don't know at this case?
no, it's good. Like it's a good.
Really?
Yeah. So
wasn't it when we're kids? If someone breaks their neck, that's it. Like you're in a wheelchair, man. You're like, I don't know how people are surviving broken necks now. It's amazing.
yeah, so it's like his C1 and C6 are fractured. They're not displaced. No spinal cord damage.
That's the
no
key.
ligament
Yeah, that's the
damage.
key.
No surgery needed.
No
so it's
surgery. Wow.
probably the best case scenario out for that to happen.
Barely a scratch then.
Tis a flesh wound.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if we're gonna go completely off script like this, we haven't actually spoken about this in person, but man, the whole Shane Warne passing, man. You know how much I love sport, and like Shane Warne and Michael Jordan are my idols, right? I'm a '90s kid. This death of Shane Warne honestly has seriously rocked me, man. Like it's actually like I've cried a couple of times about it, and actually, you know what it did? It taught me that I always thought people who like cried when a celebrity died or something like that. I'm like, this is so like, why are they crying? They don't even know this person. And yeah, man, I get it now where people are coming from. There's something about it. It's, it just felt kind of like a part of my upbringing. And he's like 52 years old when he died of a heart attack. You just never, I don't know, like it's still very young. You know what I mean? It's not that much older than what we are, amazingly, but it's just, yeah, man, it totally has rocked me. Like, and I'm still watching crap on YouTube about him, like old games or just people reminiscing about him and everything. So, yeah, I just, obviously we didn't mention it last week, but it's life, man. It's short. You gotta say, you love the people around you who you really love, because you don't know how long it's gonna be. It's freaking crazy.
Damn straight.
So what is this question in the run sheet? I know
I
you
was
hate
meant
the
to
question.
I was flowing on from
Yes,
the discussion around Big E,
Yeah.
which was, obviously he's had that accent, but I was wondering, obviously you don't need to divulge all the information, but I was like, Integot, have you ever broken a bone?
No, I've never ever
You've
broken
never
a bone. No.
broken a bone.
Never.
That's you
Not
need to
that
get
I
into
know
more
of.
fights, I think.
Yeah, I know. I need to get into Fight Club, break my orbital bone or something like that. How about you?
So I don't know if I've technically broken a bone now. I've fractured things.
Well, that's broken bone.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is I don't know where the line exactly is technically broken versus fractured. I've fractured my arm before.
Yeah.
While it was a ligament thing. If you remember, I had that tumble when we were at high school on my knee, and I had to have surgery on my knee. It was like the lamest tumble off like two stairs onto the ground, and then it's like I need surgery on it.
I love when that shit happens.
But the funniest thing, because it involves the co-host on this show, who's not here today, Mike, is that my middle finger on this hand is permanently like bent out of shape because we were preparing for a grudge boxing match. Me against Mike in my backyard, completely not trained. We had boxing gloves at least. We didn't have helmets.
And by the way, this is like pre-Fight Club. This is not like inspired by Fight Club or anything.
No,
like
we just started just thinking that we'd spar each other in boxing, and I'm like getting ready, and I'm like shadow boxing my Hills Hoist washing line, the post. I'm like just trying to like tap it, not actually punch it, just like shadow boxing it, and then I actually punched it and broke the front of my well, I think it's broke, it's all out of shape finger, and so I had to cancel. I had to forfeit the grudge match against Mike.
It's like a wrestling.
It's the lamest way to have to forfeit a match is that I punched a washing post and broke my finger.
You know what I would genuinely be up for? Because I'm going down to Melbourne in a month, so I'll have to catch up with you guys. But I would be up to do like boxing, like, you know, headgear and stuff like that. That'd be fun, I reckon.
Yeah, no, I think I'm well beyond that these days.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't want to get a concussion.
Hey, it's big in the YouTube space, so we could do it.
Yeah, we'll start boxing H3's wife.
Hila, that's right.
What is going on with all that? Anyway, let's not get into that.
All right. Let's get back. Let's get this show back on the road. So let's talk about what we've actually been playing. So Mike has been playing Gran Turismo and Elden Ring. And
we
what
assume?
No, I've spoken to him about it.
Oh wow, you've got a field report,
strategizing and stuff like that. And I have been playing Elden Ring, and you know, we Mike and I spoke about it in our impressions last week. I've put in another 15 hours or something. I'm about 42 hours in, which, you know, you got to have the context of I have a very busy life, kids, work, other commitments. For me to somehow yeah, for me to somehow scrounge up that much time kind of just shows how great this game is. I mean, I don't think it's hyperbole for me to go, this is the best game I've played since Breath of the Wild. And I played Dark Souls in between then, and I played Skyrim and a bunch of other great games. Portal 2. But yeah, man, this game is just like, if I was ranking what's like the more important or best or blah 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 games, I'd probably put Dark Souls above this, because I just think how it's seminal and, you know, like what it actually did for a genre and gaming and everything like that. But this I just enjoy so much more. Like, this has the challenge, but this also has the exploration. It's just so good, man. It's and you know, I want to segue to you, because like I'm gonna gush about this. We definitely get a review this game, just because then we could talk about it even further. I want to know, have you played it, Swinny?
There's no chance at all that I've played any Elden Ring this week.
Damn.
I
don't know how you go. I do not know how you have. You are a sick, strange, particular one-on-one man.
It is a very easy thing to explain. Are we transitioning? Is that enough? Have you talked enough about Elden Ring?
Well, I could go on and on about it, but my point is that...
Please do. I'm happy to hear it.
Well, like, I'll just say as anecdotal, like a little story, like of how crazy the game is getting for me, that it is very much like Breath of the Wild. You know, I'm not like this with games. I kind of just get through and I don't necessarily complete everything. In this, I'm like, oh, damn, I really want to get 2 of these Uchi katanas. And I'm like, how can I get it? I can't, because, like, you know, you start with it if you pick a certain class.
You're gonna power stance some Uchis, are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's something. That's Dark Souls 2 level right there.
So what I did was I created, because the good thing about having the PS4 version is I can actually play the PS4 version and the PS5 version, and they're almost like separate profiles, but they use PSN the same.
Do they have the save files don't share across them, do they?
It's a function. So as opposed to like the seamlessness of Xbox with PlayStation, you have to go in and it's a function in the game in the PS5 version only. So I can go take my PS4 stuff, bring it to PS5, but it doesn't go the other way, and it overwrites everything in PS5.
That's basically like the way that Borderlands and everything used to work in Destiny and all that stuff.
And it makes sense, right? Because like most people's use cases, the weird thing is I actually wanted to go back to the PS4 version, because after playing another 10 or 20 hours of the PS5 version, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'd rather just the more like locked frame rate, and I couldn't go back. I was like, oh shit. Anyway, so what I did was,
Well, you could start a new game.
well, no, I did start a new game. So
Okay,
this is what I'm saying, how it's getting so crazy. I started a new game on the PS4 version as a mule account. I got the Uchi from like the warrior class, and then found the other Uchi in the game. Did all of this in like half an hour, right? Then I got Mike to join me in that game. I dropped the items to him, so then he gets an extra Uchi as well. So he's got 2 now, and then gave one to me. But the stupid thing that I did was the instructions of, because it's not ever clear anything in the Souls games. The instructions said you got to drop the item when you're in multiplayer.
Oh, I discarded.
So I checked it and I'm like, it doesn't say drop. It says leave and discard. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, discard's way closer to drop. Discard. And by the way, I'm talking to Mike during this and he didn't say anything. I clicked it.
I'm not blaming you. I mean, that's the way it's been worded since, I think, the first Dark Souls.
Then why the hell do the instructions say drop? It's stupid.
But I'm not blaming you because that's happened to almost everyone, but normally not with the the consequences that clearly it's had for you.
So I did all this, like, not that much work, like, 30 minutes of work to get 2 so I can do it in one go. And then I discarded one and I'm like, and then we worked out, that just deletes it forever. I tried to kill the game to stop it from saving. That doesn't work. So then I ended up just creating another new class. So but that was a lot quicker. It only takes like 5 minutes to be able to. It's amazing how quick you can get to multiplayer if you know what you're doing. So it's an awesome game, man. You know that I don't like playing it online. I have it offline all the time, but there's a certain quest line it makes you play online, and it's actually really fun, like PvP. It actually shocked me. Like I was playing, I'm like, this is kind of funny, and it's funny how people set up ambushes and stuff like that. Like, obviously, like this guy was running. I'm like, what is he doing? So then I started chasing him, and then all these people came over the top of the mountain, just effed me up straight away. So
some of my favorite moments, especially in Dark Souls 3, is the fact that there's just all unwritten rules about things when you're doing PvP. PvP in that game is very different than Elden Ring by all accounts, from what I've heard. But just the fact that I spent like an hour being part of this silent like mob of priests that would just like people would invade the world and then would convert them to become part of our priest group that would just walk around and leave like, I forget what they call the gemstone, the glowing stone things, prism stones everywhere. It was just the most bizarre. I've got stuff recorded that I'm like, I'm holding on to these clips as long as I can, because it's just the weirdest. It's like just storytelling that comes out of like, of nothing. Like the game's not creating that story for you. It's just the community has done it. So that's cool.
And like I was talking to Mike about this offline, but there's a part in the game where the farming rate is like ridiculous. Like it's like so ridiculous. And then Mike's like, hopefully they don't patch it out of the game. I'm like, dude, it's super intentional. It's like you're right there next to a site of grace, and then you could basically get 40,000 runes within a minute. Right? So it's like, I don't know, it's a bit overinflated compared to Souls. Like if you think about like a Dark Souls. So, but it's like maybe 2 times as much. I imagine getting like 20,000 in a minute, right? Like that's a pretty good rate. It's super obvious that they did that. And I think that was always like my frustration when people talk about like easy mode, hard mode and stuff. I feel like it's more so with Elden Ring than any of the other Souls games. Go on Google. Like if you find the game too hard, literally just don't worry about it. Go on Google and then Google, how do I get OP early? Because there's these guides. If you follow them, it's incredible. You can get like a +10 or like more weapon, like insane armor, insane gear. Like that doesn't need that crazy stats. Farm, level up like crazy. And then like some of the bosses will take like 3 hits. Right? Like that is easy mode. They have built this in the game. Like it's not unintentional. So I don't know. That always just gives me the shits when people are constantly banging on about the easy mode thing. If anything, I find the fact that you can do so much extra in the game that they're catering for, that it kind of makes it a little bit not too easy. That's stupid to say, but compared to Dark Souls, that's the only Souls games I've played, right? I felt like you get up to certain points and you just have to get good at it and like get through it, like S&O and stuff like that. Like if you don't get better, like you just there's no like there's not really easy ways to cheese some of those fights, you know. Whereas this, you can get like up to level 150 pretty easily, and then it's like a 10-hit boss fight.
There's strategies, but still, it's a big barrier that's specifically them. But often when people in Dark Souls 1, they find themselves in Analondo, they don't want to leave Analondo, even though it actually doesn't take you long to get back out and back in, to then go and get the stuff that would then... But again, you're not going to know that unless you know it, you know? And that's where, as you said, if you get stuck in these games, just look something up. You know, there's no shame at all. These are games that are, you know, they're obtuse. So if you need to look something up, you need to look it up. So
yeah, and with Dark Souls 1, I felt like I was under a little bit more pressure because I think we needed to cover it. Like, it's all in my head, right? It's all my own deadlines and stuff like that. But I felt like I couldn't just play it blind because I knew it was going to take another 20 hours extra if I tried to play it blind, right? Whereas with this game, for like the most part, apart from like I want a specific item, how do I get it, right? Like I played almost all of it blind, and it's super cool, man. Like, you're gonna love it. Like, I'd be shocked if you don't like this game. Like, that would actually be the biggest shock. You are a contrarian, so you never know. But
the thing is, right, that I will also be shocked if I don't like it. I think the question for me, it's more like, will I feel that the change to the design, the world design, is a benefit versus... It's like, do I prefer it over the kind of more, I guess, the smaller, obviously non-open world, although they're kind of still open in a way, of the other Souls games. I don't know yet. You know, we saw how going open world didn't really do it for me for Breath of the Wild from what I've played so far, versus it's almost comparable. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm really hoping that's not the case. I will assume I will love this game. I do. So
and look, and that's where, like, I still feel like if I had to say, you know, best games, not games that like the ones that I love the most, just the ones that I think are the best games, I still would. I don't think I'd probably put this in the top 10 because I'm very much of the mindset of like, you can't put like 3 or 4 Dark Souls games in there, Elden Ring, all this kind of stuff, right? You kind of put a rep in there for those games, and you know, I think I'd put Dark Souls in still because it's so intricate the way it was made. It's so specific, whereas this is, it does have a lot of sections like that, but and the world is amazing. It's right up there, like with Hyrule in Breath of the Wild, where it just feels very real and organic. But you know, it just doesn't have that puzzle box nature that I really loved about Dark Souls. You know, you do have the open parts, and also you can just kind of go, fuck all of this, I'll just go do something else, which is good and bad. It's not like all good. So I am going to be fascinated to see how you take to it.
Yeah,
I don't think you'll dislike it like with Breath of the Wild, because I think some of the core mechanics and everything like that, it's, yeah, just to me, I don't think you would. Yeah, I'd be very shocked. But I would, it wouldn't shock me if you say, oh no, I find it, you know, a step below the Souls games. That wouldn't shock me, to be fair.
Oh, we'll see, and you know, I'll be honest about it.
When are you gonna start playing it? I'm like more excited for you to play it than you are.
Yeah, let's talk about stuff I've been playing then, because that kind of is the big reason why I haven't started Elden Ring yet. So, well, I'm not playing Elden Ring. The only game I've played this entire week is actually Elix 2.
Oh, interesting.
So I made the conscious decision, I mentioned this last week, that Elden Ring came out on the Friday, and then Elix 2 released about 4 or 5 days later on the Tuesday. And so I said, okay, I'm not going to start Elden Ring because because basically I'm really looking forward to Elix 2. I kind of want that style of RPG experience right now. And if I started Elden Ring, then I'd kind of like start it and then go away from it and then come back. Yeah. I can't play these two games at the same time. Elix is the kind of game that I would want to immerse myself in the same with Elden Ring. So with Elix 2, I'm about 30 to 35 hours in now, as opposed to about 7 hours last week when I first talked about it. The game has really grown on me. The first and some of the initial setbacks I saw the game have gotten better, such as the combat. The combat's still pretty crap, but it's gotten better as you upgrade your character. It feels better, if that makes sense. It feels really bad at first. I just wish that Piranha Bytes, the developers of this game and developers of the Gothic series and Risen, they've never been known for their combat, but I just want them to take like a page out of the book of Spiders, the developers of like the Technomancer, Greedfall, where with each game they've gotten better. The combat has gotten better, and I'm hoping that their next game does as well. And it's like I don't see that with the Piranha Bytes games as much. They still feel really off, but I love everything else about it. The game itself is just fun to play, like especially something about the way that Piranha Bytes design their quests. They're one of the best at it, in my opinion. We're talking interweaving quest lines, characters that are part of multiple different quests that you don't realize you have to complete one quest before it will trigger something else in another one, and it just feels really organic. And you could probably look behind the scenes and see how they map stuff out, and it would look like a crazy, connector, like a flow chart, basically. And it's just something about the way that they do it. I just wish that they could get there with the other parts of it, like the polish, the production, like the voice acting's serviceable. There's some good moments, but there's also some trash moments. I will say overall, apart from the combat, the game is much better than the first Elix, which is that's all I was really hoping for, because I liked Elix, but I didn't love it. Whereas this game has stepped it up and now I'm loving it. So look, I think it's really good. I'm looking forward to reviewing it next week. It's a massive game. As I said, I'm about 30 hours in. I've probably done like 350 quests already.
Whoa.
Yeah, this game has so much in it that it can be overwhelming at first, but the world starts to feel a lot smaller once you got into each of the hub areas. And I'll talk about the interweaving quests. Like the hub areas, you go there and you'll be introduced to so many characters that I spent like 7 hours just in this one big city doing quests in that city alone. And half the quests are just dialogue quests where you're going around having to figure stuff out, having to steal items, having to convince people about things. So it's just, that's what this game is to me. Like, it's all about the quests and their quest design. So, yeah.
The jetpack, is that sort of like a stamina style thing where you can only do it so much? It's not like you can just flow everywhere, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely limited. But I talked about the game, the feel of the combat before. Now that I've upgraded the jetpack fully, like that feels really great now. It feels way better than the first one. But yeah, it's definitely not something you're zooming around at an unlimited amount. It's not like Anthem or anything like that. You definitely have, but it will get you to the top of skyscrapers and things, and then you'll find like cool secret items and unique weapons at the top of the highest skyscraper in the ruined city. And that's stuff I love about this game. You just find cool items everywhere. So yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I played this week, honestly. But I wanted to talk about a couple of other games that I did play pretty recently, just not this week. So some of the Game Pass games that were added over the last month and a bit. So I've got a trio of games here. The first one is Contrast. So Contrast was a game. It's not a new game. That's definitely not. It's been out for quite a while, but it's a game I've always been curious about. And it's actually from 2013. It's from Compulsion Games, the developers of We Happy Few that Microsoft now own.
Oh, yeah.
And you basically play as the imaginary friend of a girl. And it's close to Link Between Worlds, Zelda, where Link Between Worlds you would squash yourself up onto the wall. In this case, you squash yourself up onto the shadows and you go across the walls and complete puzzles and traverse around the environment by turning into the shadows on the wall. And it's actually funny, it came out the same month as Link Between Worlds.
Oh, really?
It's kind of wild that these two games that have very similar mechanics came out in the same month. You can see in the YouTube B-roll at the moment how you're kind of going into the shadows and going back out. So it's really, really cool idea. The world is very film noir-esque, but it's also got like a lot of burlesque style costume designs. Not like raunchy, just kind of obviously that style of, I don't know if burlesque is the right way to say it, but lots of... I
know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, like you can see in the footage now, it's
like
very
that
similar.
Theatrical, French look, yeah.
So, very cool. It is pretty technically and visually outdated, but I mean, it's a 2013 game. It was an indie studio. I'm not expecting it to look like $1 million this day and age. So,
Before you move on, Link Between Worlds, yes or no? Most underrated not talked about Zelda game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a
confident
toss up between that and the Oracle games for me, because the Oracle games are
They're really
probably
good.
they're really good, and I think they're both kind of on the same level of not talked about very much.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting. I hear a bit of people talking about it, but I do get the knock that people have that they're Capcom. I'm like, dude, fucking Capcom, they're freaking amazing. What are you talking about? Like,
Exactly. Like,
but
come
people
on.
do give that knock, which I find just so weird. But
Anyway,
yeah, good call. Yeah, good call. All right, let's go to the next one.
yeah. So the next one is a pretty new release especially when it came out onto Game Pass, which is Dreamscaper. So I had no idea what this game was going to be when I booted it up. All I knew is that it looked like it was an action style game, as opposed to like an adventure game or anything like that. So it's from Afterburner Games. They're based in San Francisco, and it's a team of 3 ex-AAA devs. And this game is really, really polished for considering how small of a team it is. What it is basically like a top-down action roguelike that's taking place across... like the action part takes across like the dream world, and then the rest of the game takes place in like the real world, or the waking world as they call it. And so when you're in the dream world, you move between room to room, battling enemies, solving puzzles, and you will unlock some persistent upgrades as you go through. It's more like, okay, you'll unlock the fact that you can purchase this item if you come across it in a room, So it's kind of like some persistent upgrades, but when you die, it is permadeath. You start from the beginning of that. I guess I don't know. Biome is probably not the right word, but like you unlock different areas, kind of like I guess
biomes.
what I've heard of Returnal in a way.
Yeah, they're biomes.
But yeah, combat, it's funny because I play this so close to Death's Door. It has a lot of similarities to Death's Door in its combat. This definitely is a lot faster paced.
Yeah.
But it is very much okay. Parry, heavy focus on parries and dodging and things like that. Game's pretty cool. I don't know if I'll play any more of it from what I've played. But it's a gorgeous game. It's got great music.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, really, really cool. Give it a go if you like action roguelites. It's on Game Pass, so if you've got that, then it won't cost you anything to try it.
Nice.
And the last game is definitely different to these two, which is Taiko no Tatsujin, the Drum Master. A very well-known series for many people. I actually always thought this was a Sega series until I realized no, that's Samba de Amigo. For some reason, obviously that's maracas, very different, but they kind of occupy the same mental space in my head that I'm like, no, this is a Bandai Namco game, no, it's not Sega. I haven't played any version of this game probably in like 15 years, since I've randomly saw it in an arcade or something like that. This is a special version of the game that they made specifically for Xbox and PC, I guess for Game Pass. It's a very stripped back version compared to other ones, especially the Switch version that got announced recently.
Like with song selection and stuff like that, right?
I'd say more so in modes. Like it's very stripped back. It's pretty much just very basic modes. Song selection's pretty basic as well, but you can unlock more in the shops. I haven't played enough to really unlock, or definitely not all the tracks, but even probably some of the cool tracks. But some of the ones I have there by default are pretty cool. Like they've got like Undertale songs, they've got Tales of Arise, they've got Street Fighter, Neon Genesis, Katamari games. Yeah, there is some cool games. There's also a lot of, other anime songs and like idol songs and things. I have no idea what these are. You play along, you're like, okay, that sounds all right. Look, this game, as you expect, it's awesome, but the big thing is, and you've mentioned it before, it's like they're on Xbox. There's no way to play this with an actual drum controller on Xbox. It's so.
Oh, because I was literally going to ask, did you end up going and buying one? But you can't even do that.
Not on Xbox. So the only thing you can do is play this with a controller. Now, if you happen to have one of the Xbox, I forget what they call, but the accessibility controllers, like. No, I'm saying like that.
I feel like that's the wrong thing to do.
No, but I'm saying that's the closest. No, that's
is that
the
your
closest.
suggestion? Or?
No, let me finish my sentence before you laugh at it.
I know where
I'm
you're
saying
going.
that's the only controller that is really compatible with Xbox that would probably offer anything close to a drum controller. So my recommendation, if anyone wants to try this, play it on PC because you can hook up. There's
Switch.
a lot of no, but I'm talking this version on
so you
Game
can
Pass.
you can play the drum or get like a cheap one on eBay or something. And
Yeah,
play it
so
on
there's
PC Game Pass. Okay.
yeah, definitely. Someone's even been able to hook up the Donkey Konga controllers to
Oh, that's
PC
cool.
before,
That's
so
cool.
I've got them in the background there that you can see as well. So look, definitely play this on PC if you've obviously got a drum controller, you've probably already got it on a bloody PC if you've got a drum controller. So, but yeah, I'd say that this is definitely a better game on a platform that will allow you to play it properly. So
Yeah, I wonder like a VR version, like if with PSVR 2 or something, if you could get the controllers working well enough to simulate something like that, it would be really sick, I think.
yeah, it's also a surprisingly difficult game when you ramp up the difficulty. You're like, okay, there's literally only 2 drums and a couple of other things, and it's like, oh no, it's kind of layer. They do it crazy stuff with
Yeah,
it.
dude,
But
like
yeah.
I don't think I'm a slouch at those kind of music games, but like I find the ones that are very specifically more tailored to the Japanese audience, they're way harder than the Western ones. Like the Western ones have so much tolerance. Like the Japanese ones are so like you have to be like within a few frames to get it. Like it's very difficult. All right, nice. All right, let's
Cool.
jump into the news. So let's first jump into the state of play, and one of the bigger games that came out from the state of play, Square Enix has announced the next game in the renowned Valkyrie Profile series, Valkyrie Elysium. Is that right? Am I saying it right?
Or Elysium.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
not
good.
sure
So I'm
exactly
not
what's
too far
right.
off. So
Yeah, it's fine.
it's coming this year, 2022, to PC, PS4, and PS5. PS4 will never die given the chip shortage. And yeah, I'm guessing you're going to be a little bit excited about this game. Is that right?
I am. I want to talk about it, but probably not for the reasons that you
Oh, okay.
might expect me to. Like, definitely keen on this, but I'm completely inexperienced with the Valkyrie Profile series. But it's a series that I've always wanted to play, especially the first 2. The first game's always had that cult classic status, and by all accounts, the PS2 game was great as well. I don't know much about the DS game, and the mobile game, from what I looked up, just I don't know. It looked like a mobile game. Let me just put it that way. But yeah, so it's the first game in the series, essentially the console version since 2009. So it's been a while. It's
If you're a Valkyrie Profile fan, you must be like over the moon. Like, what the hell? They're bringing this back.
I don't know. I don't know if you are over the moon,
And why not?
because this game is very different than the other ones.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, you got to give me that detail.
So this is an action RPG, as people watching the footage on YouTube could attest to. All the other games are turn-based RPGs.
Oh,
So
wow.
not saying that alone is going to push people away, because
Yeah.
that's happened to a lot of series. Obviously, Final Fantasy is the big one there. But to go from not having a game in the series for so long to come back and essentially have it look like a completely different game, by all accounts, I think a lot of people are not going to immediately go, oh my god, that's the new Valkyrie Profile, Valkyrie Elysium or whatever looks amazing. And the thing for me as well is the trailer and the game, the way the game looks. This game looks pretty poor at the moment, in my opinion. Like the state of it, like graphically, I think is actually, for a game that they closed the state of play with. And a game that, like, on paper, I'm like, that sounds good, and I'm interested to try this game out. I'd probably still like to play the others before it. I just don't think it wowed people. I think it's just looks really rough. And this isn't being developed by the same people either. So Tri-Ace were the developers of the early games, and Tri-Ace are also famous for the Star Ocean series. They're not working on this. It's a studio called Soleil Game Studios. And they've got a couple of action RPGs under their belt, but they're generally licensed games, like a Samurai Jack game and stuff. So they're they don't have like a rich history of classic JRPGs compared to obviously someone like Tri-Ace. But I mean, Tri-Ace are working on the newest Star Ocean. I'm not saying that they probably even had the capacity to do it. But so yeah, I think the reception's been a bit mixed on this. Still think it looks neat. I love my action RPGs, but at the same time, I can understand why people might not be crash hot on it. So
Yeah. I missed your note in the run sheet at the start that we're meant to talk about the overall thing. I think it was also because this is like titled Valkyrie, so it like threw me.
yeah, I'll just say as well. Sorry, last thing on Valkyrie as well is that they are getting the composer back, Motoi Sakuraba. And that guy, like, you look at his run sheet now, not only does he work on all the Tales and Star Ocean games, but also Dark Souls and all those games.
I saw that. Yeah.
Like, he's so prolific, so it's great they've got him back.
Can I say, with these state of plays, and maybe this is my Nintendo fanboy bias, but there's just something about the way that Sony does these state of plays that it's just like, it feels a bit like, a fan is putting it together, trying to copy like a Nintendo Direct. And there's something about it. It's just missing this magic or aura or like energy or whatever. Like I always go into watching these as you crack open a beer or something.
I'm cracking open a Fruit Tangle vodka drink.
But yeah, so it is alcohol.
Literally Fruit Tangle. I'm not being sponsored.
And yeah, like I just feel like I go in positive watching them, and then just the way the things land, I'm like, it's like I feel like I could be a lot more excited than I am like when I'm watching it. I don't know. Maybe it is just Nintendo is just so ingrained in my brain, but
Look,
what do you think? Like, is that a fair statement, or do you think it's more biased than anything?
I mean, it's definitely fair, but I think nobody's got the magic like Nintendo. Nintendo just always. We have so much nostalgia for them. They've got so many properties at any time they could bring back, so you just don't know what to expect. Whereas with PlayStation, while they're much better Xbox in terms of their legacy and their IPs and everything, but still they're not Nintendo. So I don't think they're ever going to have that magic. As for my overall thoughts with the state of play, and we'll obviously get to some of the other highlights in a second. I liked it quite a bit, but also it was very what they covered was generally very niche. So it just happened to hit a lot of the niches that I love. So I think your mileage with this state of play will really just depend on, do you like JoJo? Do you like Turtles? Do you like to bring back Valkyrie Profile? And the general audience probably isn't going to be like that. So anyway, we'll get to that stuff.
I just can't get over the fact that there's a couple of them that I'm like, I should be more hyped about that, but maybe it's like. I say this though, that definitely one different thing is, and this is hearing in interviews of people who have got stuff in Nintendo Directs and then state of plays and things like that. Nintendo is very specific. Like, it's not just like, here's my trailer. No. They're like, this is what we want. This is how we want it. This is the pacing. This is how we want you to structure it. So I think they're putting their own thematic over everyone else, so it just feels a bit more cohesive as a thing, versus it does very much feel like a bunch of disjointed trailers with a wrapper around it with state of play. Whereas I never knew that with the Nintendo side, that they actually work with people and make them come up with a trailer in a specific way. It's like, no, we want it to be paced slower at the start, and then bang, this is when you have this announcement and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that's interesting. And the other part of it is they work with people, and then they don't hear from them for 3 months, and then all of a sudden there's a Nintendo Direct. They don't ever tell them that their product is actually going to go out the door and get announced. That's crazy. So, but anyway, let's jump into the next announcement, which I think, again, I think I would have been a lot more excited over it if it was a Nintendo Direct, but let's go into it. Is Konami announcing that they're pulling together a whole bunch of their classic Turtles games into a compilation they're calling the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Cowabunga Collection. This is a really cool move. I like it. What is it?
Awesome.
13 games, I think, running across Game Boy, NES, SNES, Genesis, Mega Drive for us, arcade, and gonna have online functionality all this year, and seems to be pretty reasonably priced given how much you get. It's pretty decent.
This is absolutely awesome. The fact that they've done so many of the games in one go. Now, not saying you could get away with just having a collection of the Game Boy games, for instance, the trio that are there, but we've seen recently Castlevania where they did I don't know what it was called, the Legacy Collection and the Advanced Collection. They split them up.
Yeah, Anniversary Collection.
Mega Man's the same. They split it up. Whereas this, they're like, okay, let's chuck all the Turtles games. This is basically all the games you would want from up to that 16-bit era.
Yeah.
all of them. Like, I can't think of any that they're missing that I would want, that, or if there are any that are missing. Like, I didn't even know, and I'm sure it's a very well-known fact, but I didn't even know that there was a Turtles in Time arcade version. I always just assumed it was a SNES game. So the fact that they put that in, like, they've even got the 2 different versions of Tournament Fighters. 3 different versions of Tournament Fighters, which is insane because they're all completely different from each other. Well, I've never played the Genesis version, but I've always been interested to try it because I was such a fan of the SNES one.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is amazing. Like, I love this collection. Just like the Hyperstone Heist specifically is probably my favorite Turtles game. And I never had a Mega Drive, but I remember renting out a Mega Drive when I was on a holiday somewhere, and I just played that game nonstop. And I actually like that game more than Turtles in Time. So
Really?
Yeah, Hyperstone Heist, I love that game.
I know
so
that's
much.
very highly rated, but
I think it's just only
Time's really good as well.
Oh, Turtles Time is great, but I think Hyperstone Heist, I just loved like the levels more. So it kind of, that's why that game is much more, I hold that one much more fondly. But they've even got like lots of Japanese variants in there of these games, region variants like they did for Contra. Note that like this is Digital Eclipse, the same mob that does all those collections like Castlevania. Like, they're so prolific. Like, you look at any collection recently of these classic games, it's probably Digital Eclipse that's bloody done it.
But they're more M2 are the other ones that are like really well renowned. So.
Well, so like they did Castlevania, they did Contra. Now they're Konami, that makes sense. This is Konami, but they also did the Mega Man, Aladdin, Lion King ones. Yeah. They did the Disney Afternoon collection, the Blizzard collection. Like, man, like these guys are not lacking for work in the industry.
And this is where it actually, speaking of Nintendo, it puts Nintendo to shame that they're including a museum mode with this. And they usually do this with these collections where they have sketches and art and lots of other stuff. I think that's awesome. Like, to me, I hate when, with what Nintendo did with Super Mario 64, Galaxy and Sunshine, and just to be kind of like, here's the selection of the games. I'm like, they must have so much cool shit that they've never showed anyone. It's Nintendo. They saved everything. And how, I honestly think they could have put in like a one-day work of just grabbing some of the old sketches or like some of Miyamoto's notes or something. And that's all they had. The bar is so low with Nintendo with that stuff. I know. They could have done that and people would have lost their shit, right? Like, people, it's worth getting just to see this stuff we've never seen before. And they didn't even bother. Like, they just dialed that shit in so much. It's so annoying to me. But yeah, I still bought it. I bought, a copy for my wife's dad for his Switch. So I'm part of the problem. But this is really cool. I do wonder with Dotemu's, sorry. I hate that name, Dotemu. Their turtle game that's coming out this year, Shredder's Revenge. If people are going to look at it and go, well, I pretty much pay the same price, get one game versus 13. I don't know. That's the one question I had.
It is an interesting move, and I wouldn't put it past Konami to have started, because that was announced a little while ago. Shredder's Revenge. It's not like a recent announcement. I wouldn't put it past Konami to be like, well, let's beat them to the post. Or I actually we don't know release date of this one. So, but yeah, no, it's true because. Look, Shredder's Revenge is probably going to have a lot of extra modes and stuff in it, but you're getting so many cool beat-em-ups, Turtles beat-em-ups in this one package. It's kind of wild.
Surely, like, the IP holders are all, like, in on it, so...
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's been an awesome resurgence of beat-em-ups. Like, I think in this era of, like, people feeling like every game needs to give you 80 to 100 hours of gameplay value, like, I'm actually glad that stuff like Streets of Rage 4 is popular and getting more popular, and they're more tight 3 to 5 hours experiences, which is cool. All right, let's move on to another highlight from us on the state of play, which was Returnal. A really cool update for Returnal, getting co-op, and then also a new survival mode, and they're naming this 3.0 update, they're branding it Ascension, which is kind of weird. Like, these title updates are getting names now, I'm finding. Like, I know Monster Hunter's done it as well in the past. So his free update's dropping in a week and a bit, so the 22nd of March. And I'm like, I really want to play this game. Like, I'm kind of debating, should I just play it straight after Elden Ring or not? It's just that it's hard, right? And you feel like you play Elden Ring, you probably want to play something a bit more straighthtforward after it, and some other game kick your ass even more.
Too bad you're not going to buy Kirby, because that would have been the perfect palate cleanser
Wow.
between those two games.
That's almost too much of a. It's almost like water as a palate cleanser. So yeah, like, and it's pretty damn cool. It's got online co-op. Yeah, like I'm kind of surprised that they've done co-op. Like, it's not doesn't seem to fit in with the game director's vision of the game, and just like his vision of games in general. From my perspective, just listening to him talk about it at length. But I actually really think it's cool. Like, I'd love if you or Mike jumped in. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I reckon that'd be really cool. Like, in a really cool way to experience it.
Yeah, look, I think this is a great addition to a game I haven't played. You know, but you can still judge things that are, you know, cool,
Yeah.
even if you can't experience them yourself yet. And I love what they've done with this new Tower of Sisyphus, the survival arcade mode. Basically, they're saying
Yeah.
that they're bringing the game back to Housemarque's arcade shooter roots, where basically you've got score multipliers. If you don't take damage, and your multiplier keeps going up. So obviously it's that risk reward push-pull system of kind of, you know, of that'll keep you on edge all the time. So I think it's really, really cool. And apparently they've weaved new narrative elements into that mode as well. And there's, you know, a new boss in there. So some cool stuff they're adding in there. I don't know if it's going to be up everyone's alley, because we know that the whole concept of scores are not always appealing to everyone. But
Yeah.
hey, it's a free update as well. What can you say? You can't complain about that.
Yeah, new boss, a new biome / area. So, a new narrative content. That's really interesting. I feel like this is all the stuff that they really want to do, and the audience doesn't want it. But I kind of love how they don't give a fuck and they just keep doing it. Like, they refuse to make the game easier. They had to like be kicked, you know, dragged kicking and screaming to put in a save checkpoint, like a save state that goes away once you know, go back into the game. It's not like you can actually save scum and stuff like that, but you know, they didn't want to do that either, and they added it in really late into the game, like pretty much after everyone's already played it. And this Tower of Sisyphus is just like, I feel like people probably already feel like the game is Tower of Sisyphus. You know? Like, so it did make me laugh when I was watching it. I'm like, well, they're just doing this because they love it, which I kind of love about that studio. So yeah, man, I'm really keen to play it, and I love how it has like Metroid, you know, nods and things like that in Returnal. So
Yeah, it's a shame that the only host of this show that's actually played the game isn't here to talk about the update, but that's fine. Mike,
he hasn't played that much of it. He returned it straight away.
He did play it. He did play a lot of it.
No, it was like 2 days or something, and then he thought it was too hard.
Yeah, but he played enough. He played more than we bloody did.
Well,
let me just put it that way.
I just say I've watched a lot of streams, and I feel like I'm an expert more than most people who've beaten it. So, all right,
Nice.
all right, let's
nice.
close out the state of play. Which when I saw this announcement, I thought, oh, Swinny's got a little gamer boner right now.
Oh, this is what I've been waiting for
All right, you take it away.
all week. So one of the most surprising and, judging by the internet, popular reveals of the state of play was an upgraded version of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle, which has been called All-Star Battle R. And the term R is interesting because you look at a lot of Japanese games that use it, and often it means remix. In this case, you could consider it possibly remaster, but this game is a bit more than remaster. Like, they're actually doing a lot to this. So it's based, for anyone who doesn't know anything about JoJo, I'm not going to really go into it because it's...
Yes, please don't.
It is a wormhole of awesomeness and craziness and ridiculousness. But basically, it's based on Hirohiko Araki's super popular manga series that's been going since the 80s. Now, this series has had so many games of varying quality, and we'll get to that in a second with this game. But basically, this was originally a PS3 exclusive from around 2013. And it's made by anime fighting specialists CyberConnect 2, who have very divisive developer. They make a lot of anime games. A lot of them very average, a lot of them review very average, but every now and then they'll make something that people love. So this is a more traditional 2D fighter. You can still sidestep and everything, versus the most recent game in the series, which is Eyes of Heaven, which is a game that the first game I bought when I got my PS5. I'm not a huge fan of the gameplay in that one. This one is much more up my alley, and I've always wanted to play this game, and I never had a PS3. So what have they done to this game? So first of all, it's coming out on everything, which is awesome because, as I said, the original was PS3 only. This is coming out on Switch, Xbox, Steam, so everyone's going to get a chance to play it. Since 2013, in the West, JoJo has exploded in popularity. So all you have to do is just go on YouTube or Reddit, and like, this is the game that has the most comments of the state of play. This is the people.
Really?
People making countless videos about what are the new characters going to be. This series is so popular, and people, I think, were just wanting something new in the game space from them. And Eyes of Heaven is not loved by a lot of people because of the gameplay style. But I was about to say, what are they doing to this? So they're upgrading the visuals, so it is a remaster in that regard. But they're also revamping a lot of the character models, bringing them closer to the anime color variants of the costumes, because JoJo's really weird. Basically, even in the anime itself, some of the characters can go through about 5 different color changes throughout the episode. It's just the style.
Okay.
But there's almost like a default, and they've changed stuff to the default of that. They've reworked all of the character models. The game runs at 60 frames a second, so the original ran at 30, which for a fighting game is obviously a huge improvement. They're re-recording all the dialogue with the anime voice cast. So when this game came out in 2013, I'm not sure exactly how far along they were, but they'd essentially only started adapting the first 2 parts of JoJo, and there's 8 parts of JoJo of the manga. So there's 8 parts. They're adapting the first 2 to anime. Now, since they're mid part 6 at the moment on Netflix, so they're able to get all the voice casts they cast for the anime and re-record all the voices, which I think is a huge thing that fans are going to love for this. They are adjusting the gameplay. Now, I've never played this game, so I can't talk too much about this, but they are adding more tag elements. They're adding like air dashes and things, so they are spicing the gameplay up a bit as well. There's new modes. There's new stages. So they are adding a lot to this. But I think the biggest thing that people love to talk about are the characters in this. So the original game had 41 characters. This game has 50. Now, it means there's at least 9 new, because I think there's one character that they may not have in this one that was like a crossover character that I think isn't confirmed for this. So there's a good chance there's probably 10 new characters they're adding to this. And we know from a leaked screenshot, or a screenshot they accidentally put up, that there's 2 characters that are already in, which is Trish and Prosciutto from part 5. All the characters will be unlocked from the beginning, so it's almost like what they did with Smash not Smash, with
the opposite.
Was it Mario
Kart?
Kart?
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
That's what I.
I don't want to labor a bit. I just wish that there's a setting in the settings menu which you can go, yep, unlock everything. Otherwise, no. That's
what I was thinking of, where it's okay to change that.
Yeah.
And look, there's a whole lot of likely characters. The likely characters they're probably going to introduce are the ones that have already got Eyes of Heaven, because a lot of the games, they share an engine. They often share assets. They've shared assets between those games. So there's a good chance that a lot of those characters that were in Eyes of Heaven that aren't in this game are going to be the ones brought in. But I think the big stuff that people are wanting... So when this game came out, Part 8 was... I think it was pretty early. Part 8's now finished, JoJo and the manga, so they're able to bring in like the main villain in that series if they want. I think that's what people really want, even if it's DLC. But Part 9, the manga, is going to start this year. So people really hoping that, who we don't know who the protagonist is going to be of that, because it obviously hasn't started yet, because each part has a new protagonist. So we're hoping that, people really hoping that they bring in the Part 9 protagonist, even as DLC to this game. So I'm super pumped for this. It's much more up my alley than Eyes of Heaven. I will go back to Eyes of Heaven and play through the campaign of that. But I think this is a game for JoJo fans, not so much a game, I think, for fighting game fans. Like, as a fighting game, it's not super well regarded, but as a fan service JoJo game, it's massively regarded. So
yeah, look, I don't know anything about JoJo outside of you mentioning it a bunch of times.
It's awesome. That's what it is.
I'm hearing more in just random podcasts. They're like, oh, JoJo, you got to get onto JoJo's. You probably might have seen my reaction. I was reading like the fan requested characters, and then in Part 6, it's Foo Fighters. I was like,
yep.
What? Foo Fighters?
Yep.
Like, they've rolled Foo Fighters. And then I Google Foo Fighters. I'm like, what is this? Like,
all the characters...
Is this like Sherlock Holmes in Ace Attorney, where they had to translate it to something else? Like, what is it? Herlock Sholmes? in the West.
So, funny thing is, right, so what they do with JoJo, because all the characters and stands and everything JoJo are all named after bands and songs and stuff. When they translate it for, like, official English release, they have to change all the names all the time.
Yeah, so it's like Sherlock Holmes. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so, for instance, Killer Queen, one of the villain stands, is Deadly Queen. Shining Diamond is changed to Crazy Diamond, I think it is. Like, they changed them all.
Shining Diamond? Well, you mean like Shine On You Crazy Diamond?
Yeah,
like Pink Floyd.
There's
Crazy Diamond's like just as close as Shining Diamond.
Like, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, there's a stand called Pearl Jam. You know, like it's this game. Yeah, there's like you see the list. This is the most music.
Oh yeah, Mariah.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, there's heaps. It's from a music Easter egg standpoint, it's insane. There's whole videos that go for like an hour just talking about the musical references. But my favorite is the fact that the villain of part 7, his stand is called, which is like the power, is called Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap.
Dirt Cheap, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they just call it D4C in English because that's what they nickname it anyway. So
that's funny. Actually.
Anyway,
okay.
Yeah, so I'm super pumped for this. It's obviously not going to be up everyone's alley, but yeah, like hell yeah, I'm going to get this. Yeah, nice. So I'm super looking forward to this. So
yeah, nice. No, cool, awesome. I think you're going to take over the next story as well because I refuse to say the name of this island.
What do you refuse to say the name of it?
Go on.
I'm missing something here. So this week it wasn't State of Play, so we're done with State of Play. We actually had the announcement, a very low key announcement from a Snow Castle Games, developers of Earthlock, that they're releasing a new spin-off game in that universe called. Now you've got me stuck. I'm like, I don't know what you're getting at.
I just don't know how to say it, so I refuse to say it. So I find it funny that you don't want to say it.
I don't know how to say it. Ikonei Island. That's what I'm reading. It's, Ikonei.
It's not Japanese though, is it?
They're not a Japanese developer.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically this is... So I want to talk a little bit about Earthlock to then give the context about this. So this is a crafting game, but Earthlock is not. Earthlock is an RPG, and it's an RPG series because the second game is due to come out hopefully this year. But Earthlock Festival of Magic was like a throwback JRPG from Snow Castle Games, who are based in Oslo, Norway, and they're heavily inspired by like PlayStation era Final Fantasy games, the Tales series, and everything. It actually gained popularity through Kickstarter and the fact that it was released as a Games of Gold title. So a lot of people picked this up. Well, they grabbed it for free as part of that promotion. And I really love Earthlock. And back on episode 2 of this show, July 2020.
July 2020. It's almost 2 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's when we talked about the fact that they actually announced Earthlock 2. So they had announced a sequel. But what this game is, that they announced this week, is not an RPG. It is a survival crafting game. And the fact that I'm playing through Kataria Fables at the moment, I love my Harvest Moon and Stardew and everything, and then you mix that with like the Earthlock universe, which I love the style of the game and everything. It's almost like a match made in heaven for me. If you're not going to make an RPG, then you make this kind of crafting, almost life sim. They're not calling it a life sim. I don't think there's farming from what I can see. Weirdly, the Earthlock actually had farming, but anyway, whatever. So yeah, I think this game looks really cool. It's basically like you befriend wildlife. They give you abilities that you help unlock new areas in the island. And we don't know much about it, but I just wanted to call it out because it's a game that many people are probably going to talk about. I think it looks cool. I believe it says it's due for. Actually, I don't know if they said when it's coming out. So they said 2022? Because I know it's hitting PC early access first. So I don't know if the 2022 refers to the early access or the full release. But yeah, they said Earthlock 2 that was apparently 2022. So I don't know if that is still due or not.
That's what I was going to say. It seems very strange. Like, if you're a huge studio, maybe you do something like that. But it seems very strange to do that. Like, if you're not that big, but...
Well, what's interesting, I actually saw a little mini trailer for Earthlock 2 when I was researching this, and they're referring to that game as a survival 3D RPG as well. So it wouldn't surprise me that they've been able to almost get this game up and running quicker. So obviously then they can get more people into the universe and hopefully then also, expand out for Earthlock 2. Because, look, I don't know what's going to be more popular. You know, maybe this one has a chance to blow up as a little survival crafting game that people talk about as opposed to an RPG. I don't know. So,
But not
Anyway.
coming on the Switch. That like I get maybe the way it looks, but I feel like that would be the biggest audience by far.
possibly. I mean, the first game is on Switch, so
Yeah, no, just like I saw your note that you said it's excluding the Switch. That just seems like from a business standpoint, if anything, I would launch on the Switch and nowhere else. Like if I was
Yeah.
the marketing people for these guys. But okay.
cool.
Good luck
Yeah,
to
so
them.
that's Ikonei Island.
Oh, and then big news, bigwig news. Ender Lilies, our 2021 Game of the Year.
Damn straight.
Ender Lilies Quietus of the Nights, fantastic game. It is getting a physical release. So it is getting a physical release on the PS4 and the Switch. This game's getting a lot more buzz. Like, you know, the other thing
Yeah.
that they spoke about, you know, it's reviewed really highly. From memory, I gave it a 9 out of 10. And it sold 600,000 copies for a studio that doesn't have a huge stack of employees. That definitely would be a great result. And I'm really fascinated to see what they do next. So they're going to have 2 versions. This is with limited run games. They're going to have the standard edition, you get the cart, or you get the collector's edition, physical copy, soundtrack, poster, and enamel pin. And it's an open pre-order, which I'm always a big fan of.
And it's for PS4 and Switch only. So I just want to
Yes.
clarify that. So, yeah.
Yes. So, like, you know, and, you know, given that we did say it's Game of the Year, they did miss, as Swinny pointed out, I don't want to steal his joke, but they missed out on calling it the Game of the Year edition.
Exactly. Like, man, all they had to do was just put our little potty on their front of their physical release, and they would have sold another 600,000.
I was to say, if they did that, guaranteed I would be getting the physical copy, just because it's almost like you have to at that point. That's awesome.
Well, I've actually ordered it.
Oh, you
so-
have? Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. I was
Yes.
debating about getting the PS4 version, actually. I've already got the Switch version.
So I actually got the Switch version.
yeah,
I already
cool.
own this game on Xbox digitally.
Yeah, that's what I
so,
thought,
but yeah, no, I think like not much to talk about here. It's just awesome game. Obviously, a Game of the Year came from nowhere to win our Game of the Year. Wasn't even nominated in our official list of nominees. And we just decided they were like I think it was Monster Hunter Rise. Were like, you know, that doesn't really qualify because it didn't make this personal list. And we're like, let's just find another one. And, oh yeah, Ender Lilies. We'll put that on there. And then we went through the Game of the Year. We whittled it down. And we're like,
I think like unpacking was pretty close, but I didn't want that to be Game of the Year personally.
well, that's the thing. Is even Mike made a comment like Ender Lilies. Yeah, it's not going to win Game of the Year, and then ends up winning Game of the Year or something. So that's it's a game I still haven't completed. I still have to go back to the game, but man,
It's a
great.
hard game. It's like not easy. Like I think that's what I really liked about it. Like it was a good level of game. Like it certainly wasn't easy, but it wasn't impossible or anything.
I
like
haven't seen anyone else give this Game of the Year.
that. No, God, no.
So let's we're ahead of the curve here. Come on,
Yeah, no,
people.
600,000, baby.
catch up, people. Go back and change your Game of the Year to Ender Lilies, please.
I'm just thinking, like, well, because what is the biggest game of last year that we didn't play? Like, It Takes Two. I really wanted to play that game. I reckon I would have given that Game of the Year if I'd played that game. But you bastards never want to play with me. I'm just the loner in the corner.
That's a you problem.
Dude, last year was a really weird year. Like, very, very weird year. I'm just looking at the Metacritic scores, like, in order. It's just really, yeah, like, interesting. Yeah, cool. So now I'm debating whether I'll buy it. Like, I'll check it out again. See how much-
The postage. I didn't enjoy the postage on it.
Oh, really? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
That's what sucks about living in Australia.
I know, that is the worst. thing
Amongst
about living
other
in
things,
Australia.
but that is when it comes to postage of items, that's like
Brutal.
Obviously, the analog items are the ones that
Don't even get
felt
me
the
started.
pain as well.
Those bastards. They haven't even updated the Pocket firmware to work with the DAC. Because one big thing I wanted to do is play like Game Boy Advance games on my CRT and just see what it looks like and everything like that. I still can't do it to this day. It's like so beta, that bloody thing. Anyway, you're getting yours, what, next year or something like that?
At this point, yeah.
Are you Group B or C?
I think I'm C.
Whoa, you're C.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Brutal.
I'm okay with that. Like, man, like there's so many games I haven't played yet. This
Yeah,
year.
yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
like
You know, the flip side is it's going to be the perfect version by the time you get it. They're going to refine the hell out of it. Bastards. Nah, I still love them. All right, let's get on to our final story on a much more abbreviated show this week. And it's that Super Nintendo World is officially underway and coming to Hollywood. So what you have is in Japan, you also have the announcement for Orlando, Universal Studios Orlando in 2023. And now you're going to have another one in Hollywood. So it's very cool. And they obviously shows they're very confident in the concept. You will get the Donkey Kong expansion in Japan due open 2024. And I guess I can say this now. I don't want to say all the personal reasons why this is happening, but we're actually going to be going to Japan. We have to go to Japan this year as a family.
You have to.
Yeah. It was like family related stuff, right?
Okay.
So no, it's family related. I don't want to go.
And you
into it.
have to go to Super Nintendo World while you're over there.
Wow, of course.
When in Rome.
I don't even think it's
Super Nintendo
close to why we need to go over there. But
Well, it's on Osaka. It's in Osaka, isn't it?
yeah, I know, but there's no. Yeah, we're going to be going to like the north or something like that, like right up far north. But anyway, yeah, like so, I'm super keen. I really am looking forward to going to the Japanese one, and I'm really pumped that they have one in Hollywood because I feel like this is just. I don't know, like whenever I'm in a city in the world that has like a Disneyland or like probably not Universal Studios, but definitely Disneyland, it's like, damn, I have to go. I don't know. It's just something about it. It's really cool to go. And now these Super Nintendo worlds are becoming like that. You know, where it's like, if I was in LA or in Florida, I'm like, all right, I guess I got to go. Like, what else can I do?
To be a little bit of a Debbie Downer,
Oh, yeah, go.
just to set expectations, the site that they're building, the one in the Hollywood, Universal Studios Hollywood, is a smaller area than the one in Universal Studios Japan.
Really?
So if you look,
Because it's pretty small, the Japanese one.
Yeah, so this is even smaller.
Wow.
So just temper your expectations. I think they're saying, because I think there's technically two rides in the Japan version.
Yeah.
I think people are saying it's likely probably only going to be one ride.
Wow.
But people like, there's a golf course next to it. Just check out the golf course. Who cares? And they've got enough golf courses anyway. But I think the one, by all accounts, Orlando is a much potentially bigger area that they might even do the Donkey Kong one there as well. So I just wanted to say, look, obviously it's going to, you look at the Japan one that's on the screen at the moment on YouTube, and it's obviously a good indicator, but it's not going to be a one, like, it's not going to be exactly the same because of that. So.
And you know what I'll be able to do when I get to Super Nintendo World in Japan? I'll be able to buy 6 amiibo I have not been able to buy so far. Because the wrist thing that you get, that Miyamoto is about to, demonstrate on the screen in the B-roll, is an amiibo.
Oh, come on.
So you can use
the
the
amiibo?
Yeah, you can use it on the Switch, and then you can use it within the park.
That doesn't count.
It's an official amiibo. It's literally an official amiibo.
I think you just call anything an amiibo at this point. You'll be like,
Pretty
okay,
much.
well then it's an amiibo. Okay.
Well, that's what they did with the Diablo figure. You've seen the Diablo figure, right?
Yeah, you've shown
The
me.
Loot Goblin. It's literally just a generic Loot Goblin that they put an amiibo base like chip in. They didn't even change the base of it. It's still like an oval shape instead of a round shape. So, but anyway, I think this is awesome. It's it feels like it's a successful concept. Super Nintendo World, even with the pandemic and everything like that, they're obviously seeing numbers that they're happy with. And honestly, I'll see myself going to all of these at some stage for sure. Like I'd be shocked if I didn't, because we'll definitely go back to Florida with the kids to see Disney World, because that's everything's bigger than Florida. Like even COVID's bigger over there at the moment. But yeah. Do you think you'll make your way to one of these one day?
Sorry, you said Florida. I just can't think. JoJo Part 6 is set in Florida, so it's got me thinking. So I've got JoJo on the mind.
But yeah, do you think you ever get to one of these places?
Maybe. I don't know.
Really? You're not sure?
I don't know. Look, I would say that if I take a trip over Japan at all, it's not going to be my first priority to go visit Super Nintendo World. It'd be cool, but I'm not going to make that a reason to go. So, I don't have kids, so it's like I would be going
that's
for
why
only.
I'm going.
So it would depend on also, you know, the party that I'm with and things like that. So
The party. You're going with a party.
party.
Interesting.
well, I don't know.
The entity.
Depends on the company that I have, because I
company you
wouldn't
keep.
go there myself. Imagine me just going to Japan in Super Nintendo World by myself.
That would
just
be
walking
awesome.
around the park
That'd be
by
That'd
myself.
be good. I like that. wearing 3 of the wrist things, the Amiibo things on
What
each
is-
arm.
What's that show?
Or maybe on your legs as well.
What's that show? Netflix show? Colombian drug lord.
Oh,
There's like a meme.
Narcos?
Is it Narcos where he's just like standing? There's
Yeah,
like a meme where
Narcos,
he's just standing
yeah.
around.
That's
Yeah,
Narcos,
that's me.
isn't it?
That's me. Super Nintendo World.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just standing, staring
That's
at
like
like
Keanu
the
Reeves.
rides.
Keanu Reeves
Yes,
with like a
Sam
sandwich.
Keanu. Yes.
Awesome. So that's all the news we have for this week. And we don't have a special feature. So it's actually, we're about to wrap the show up in a minute. But in a minute is my little segue.
Ooh.
Because as we do when we wrap up the news, there's lots of stories we could talk about. But we don't really have anything specific that we want to add to them. But we want to mention them on the show. We've been running this for a few weeks, well, many weeks now. And we are monotonically increasing the word count. 1 extra word per episode for Swinny. So it's 187. Although you did cheat in that other episode that you didn't bring to our attention clearly enough that you cheated.
It was
Blatant
very
cheat.
well brought to your attention at the time. You just have a bad memory.
I do actually have a terrible memory.
I was gonna
You
ask.
bastard.
I was gonna ask Integot.
Yes.
You know, given that I've talked a lot this episode.
Yeah, it's
'cause, you
good.
know, yeah. Do you want to do this?
No.
No.
I don't know if I can. Do you want me to try?
If you want to have a shot at it.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't expecting you to say yes, but please do if you want. If you have a shot.
Dude, I'm a game to do things. So if you put me out, you put it out there. I haven't even practiced, so I'll probably lose. It doesn't count because whatever.
All right, this
I'm
is
gonna
awesome.
start.
I look forward to this.
All right, alrighty. I'm gonna start in a second. Gotham Knights has a new release day of 25th August 2022. The Dead Space remake launches in early 2023. A mobile version of Call of Duty Warzone has been officially confirmed. A remaster of the Nintendo 64 platformer Glover has been announced for PC. Paradise Killer is coming to PS4 and Xbox next week. Outward Definitive Edition is coming to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X in May. Evo Fighting Championship has revealed their 2022 lineup. Cult hit fighter Them's Fighting Herds is coming to all consoles. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and more have blocked sales in Russia over the Ukraine conflict. Nintendo has also delayed the Advanced Wars remaster due to the ongoing situation. John Romero has made a new Doom level with all proceeds going towards humanitarian efforts in Ukraine. Square Enix has launched an official YouTube channel with over 5,000 songs. F-Zero X has been added to the Switch's online N64 library. Dr. Disrespect and Twitch has resolved their legal disputes over his infamous ban. And finally, the man who used COVID relief funds to buy a rare Pokemon card is now served 3 years in jail. Shit. That was like, it threw me off. That is like way harder, man. I'm like tired after doing that. Shit,
I tell you, man, it's like, I'm not saying it's difficult, but it's surprisingly more difficult than you expect.
Oh,
like
yeah,
Mike,
yeah.
I had so much more respect for Mike after doing it my first time. I'm like,
Yeah, I
my
failed
respect for
first
Mike
go.
has gone from like 0 to 1.
You know, I was watching this basketball clip where they're talking about Michael Jordan, which I also do a lot. And the guy's like, okay, like rate Jordan in, defensive ability, 1 to 5. 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. I'm like, I find that rating scale offensive. Like, who rates best is 1, like on the left, and then the worst 5 on the right? That's just like anathema to me. But man, that's really hard, dude. I don't know how you guys do it. Oh, like I'm tired. I feel like I'd have to write it myself.
He's
so.
got the sweats. He's got the
I'm
news
exhausted.
sweats.
I'm exhausted. Normally, like I like to listen to you do it and then go, oh yeah, I like this or want to call out that. But now I'm like trying to go back and actually, what did I even say with all these things?
Yeah, I originally had it in here, but I originally had Mike endorsed Paradise Killer is coming to PS4 Xbox because I know that he quite enjoyed that game. So wouldn't be surprised if that's a Game Pass drop at some point. So
Yeah, well, did we mention that Guardians of the Galaxy was put on Game Pass? That's incredible.
well, we don't have any Game Pass mentions unless
Yeah.
I bring it up, for instance, in my segment. But yeah, obviously I'll be checking that one out. So
Oh, that's massive. Like, even I'm
Yeah.
like going, actually, that might be a good palate cleanser after Elden Ring. Like, not crazy hard game, enjoyable, much more straightforward dialogue rather
why
than
am I
cryptic
still
shit.
leaning forward like I'm about
don't
to do
know.
one Min For The Swin?
Yeah, that was big. Actually, like, I like that Gotham Knights. Seems like it's definitely coming out this year. That's one that I'm really keeping my eyes on. I'm a bit nervous about how that game's going to shape up, though. You know, like with the co-op versus, like, I don't know. It seems to doesn't seem to be what I thought it was going to be. And then the other one that kind of surprised me was Dead Space, the remake. Them showing like clips from it, and then also saying it's coming out early next year, which was way earlier than I was expecting, honestly.
Well, there's been some places saying it's slipped till next year. I'm like, God, was that even on the potential
Yeah, I didn't
lineup for this year? You know,
Yeah, that was news to me. Like, I thought that was gonna be like a couple of years away. So, and then Advance Wars, that made me laugh. That whole thing. I went from going to buy it in October last year, then it gets delayed, and then with all this shit that's happening, who knows when it's gonna get released?
Well,
Like,
the fact that there's like a Russia-like faction in that game as well,
Yeah, I know,
I completely
know.
understand why they've done that. It's obviously also like that game had already been delayed, so it's like, okay, it's delayed again. But how about Glover coming back?
Yeah.
Glover getting a PC? Like,
know.
lease of life. I couldn't. This is like the most unexpected news I've had since they announced the new bloody Kiki Kai game or whatever.
I have to say, gaming is getting a little bit like 3 years ago with Netflix and Amazon Prime, and it just feels like they're trying to resurrect everything because it's getting like, you know, you even see this on in the console space. You know, I don't know if you follow the Coleco Chameleon, and then you know the Intellivision,
Amico.
Amico.
Yeah,
know, like
you can't avoid the Amico stuff if you follow certain YouTube channels.
Yeah, well, like I listen to the Pat NES Punk and Ian podcast, completely unnecessary podcast, and it feels like they've just morphed into a shitting on Intellivision podcast. It's amazing how much airtime they've dedicated to it.
It's great. It's great.
I do enjoy it. I don't know anything about it outside of what they talk about, so it's very skewed. But yeah. All right, cool. I guess we'll wrap up the show, man.
That's it. I'll go back to playing Elix.
I'll go back to play. Well, I want to watch Drive to Survive, Netflix, F1, but you should watch that if you're like, you don't have to be an F1 fan. It's very well made. It's very entertaining.
Yeah, I'll just bring something up completely. It's on that note.
Yeah.
I've been watching some Netflix documentaries recently, and have you ever watched the Eddie Strongman documentary?
No.
About I forget his name. The UK Strongman. Anyway, well, check that out. It's old. It's like 2015, but that's a good documentary.
What's it called?
It's called. I think it's just called Strongman or Eddie Strongman. One of the two.
Okay.
The basically because it's like it. Obviously, all documentaries are they're edited in a certain way, but the fact that early in the documentary, he's like, one of my goals is to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then he's got this moment at the end that's really cool. So
Nice.
I don't know if it's I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
Eddie
called
Hall.
Eddie Strongman.
Yeah, so it's Eddie Hall. It's a good watch on Netflix. It's not new. I just watched it recently. So
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it. I always like anything like sporting realm or associated.
Cool.
So next week we should be covering Elex 2 review,
yeah,
Chrono Trigger, massive TBD on Earthbound, and then
what about the Cuphead show? Have you watched that yet?
Okay, so like, I'll do my mini review of it now in the bit that we delete. I mean, this is for the truly dedicated who have gotten to this point. My son, who's like 4.5, is obsessed about this Cuphead show. He's watched the whole thing twice, from start to finish.
Well,
Right? And it's pretty funny because he has a friend at school who talks about baby Jesus all the time, and then he's now talking about baby.
does he like? Is he in Talladega Nights fan? or something?
No. Like, this is more like Christian people, right? So then he talks now about baby Buddha, and then he goes, "What do I talk about?" And I always say baby devil or baby Lucifer. And then he's watching the Cuphead show, and the devil's in the show. So he's like, "Oh, this is baby devil."
Baby Beelzebub.
I do like, it's so weird, the Cuphead show, because the the game's animation is so flawless and beautiful, and I don't like the animation style of the Cuphead show, but they executed the hell out of it. I got to give them credit. Like, I don't love it, but it's very good. And people who don't even know Cuphead the game are gravitating towards it. It's actually very popular on Netflix. It's one of the trending series on Netflix, and it's super quick. It's like crazy quick.
So I asked you, now I can remove that from the run sheet if you're not going to review it. Cool, thank you. That's from the schedule.
Do we want to wrap up anything else? Do we want to clean anything else?
I was just going to say, if it was any other week, I would have been playing any other, like, fortnight, I should say, the new Assassin's Creed expansion, Valhalla expansion.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't review it. But I guess you're playing Elix too, right?
Exactly. Like, between that and then Elden Ring, like, I don't know, I might try to squeeze in a 40-hour DLC between Elix and Elden Ring. I don't know. So
yeah,
anyway.
I don't think you should start Elden Ring, given who you are as a person, because you'll want to get you want to get the what do they call it? The 100% achievements? I don't know, because it's
just all achievements. Yeah, it's just all achievements. Yeah,
you want to get all the achievements in Elden Ring, obviously.
Yeah.
1% of people have got it now in PlayStation, which I'm shocked about.
Oh,
that's a lot.
So
it's not an easy game. It's a long game.
I can't speak for Elden Ring, but I know I'm always surprised by how low the ratio is on Xbox for the Dark Souls games. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it just must be something about those games kind of drive people to complete them more than maybe you'd expect. So
yeah, I agree. Like, you know, if you're sort of a bit like, I don't like games being too difficult, you're definitely going to avoid those games, right?
There's over 1,000 people on True Achievements completed, which is 2% of the people that played it on True Achievements.
So it's more. Like, there you go. Step it up, PS gamers.
But that's on True Achievements, so that's obviously skewed towards people that are playing for achievements more than.
Oh no, because so you don't. Oh, so there's no way to figure it out in general. Because in PlayStation you can.
No, there is. I just don't have the number in front of me. Because there's an achievement for obtaining all achievements. So that would be, that ratio on Xbox is what would tell you the same as the Platinum. So. Because
PlayStation actually tells you just straight up, this is how many percentage of people have done this.
Yeah, so does Xbox. I just don't have. I'm on True Achievements. Okay. I had to be on my console to see it. So.
Okay, because the PSN profiles. So PSN profiles, so it's similar to True Achievements, right? Yeah. 11.5% have done the Platinum. I'm like, what maniacs, right? And then it's 1.2% of everyone else, which I was like, shit, that's pretty good. Like, I'm kind of surprised about that, man. Like, yeah, I guess people who are playing this game are like hardcore people, and they're like they've beaten pretty difficult bosses. I'm going through it now. I've beaten some of these, but it's like 17% of people have beaten certain bosses. I'm like, it's like 40 hours into the game, legit. Like, it's impressive how much people are into this game, man.
Maybe you're just slow.
What do you mean I'm slow? No, I'm actually further ahead. But it's
you're like, oh, that's 40 hours, and I'm up to that boss, and everyone is there like in 5 hours.
No way, no freaking way. Mike is not even up to these bits, and he's 50 hours in the game.
Mike is not a good comparison of that. He's
true, actually.
God, he put like 200 hours in Skyrim before he even went to the bloody Greybeards up the mountain.
Well, he only did that because of the show. He said he was never going to do that if it wasn't for the show.
He hasn't even unlocked shouts yet. Anyway,
it's so awesome. I love
He's probably coming around all the dragon words we learn new shouts. He's, I don't even know what this is, but give it to me anyway. Anyway,
that is actually awesome. All right, well, that's it for the show. It's been a very different show tonight. Next week, as we said, Elix 2. I'm gonna be fascinated to see what game you're playing next. If it's the Assassin's Creed DLC or Elden Ring. I think I know which one it's gonna be. I think the market's about $1.20 on Assassin's Creed.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. And then Chrono Trigger, finally. We're going to cover Chrono Trigger. So let's see. Let's test if Mike is a true 80% mark of where he's up to in that game.
Mike is a true 80%er.
Because he's definitely not going to play any more of it. So with that, bye-bye.
See ya.